the discipline of indifference. Radical indifference. That's what we're going to talk about today, folks. You know, it's funny, these past few weeks, past few months, I've been doing a lot of work. I've been working on myself. I've been working on my mental health. And I'm practicing a kind of indifference, right? That's this tip that I've been on lately. That's what I want to share with all of you. And I'm working on becoming indifferent to the dominant political narrative, becoming indifferent to the media landscape, becoming indifferent to the information in narrative warfare that we're all experiencing. And I know that might make some people uncomfortable, but that's why it's so important we have this conversation. Radical indifference. Because I argue, everybody, that indifference now is a key to survival. It's a matter of survival now, right? Because the news is making people sick. The media is making people sick, and it's making people sick by design. We'll talk about that more in subsequent videos. But let's just assume, for the sake of argument, everybody, let's just say that that is true, that the news is making people sick. Isn't the rational thing to do then to reject the thing that's making you sick, right? So that's where the radical indifference comes in. Because, folks, what's happening in the world today, especially with the media, especially with the dominant political narrative, we're going to get into it now, folks, is we've seen the commodification of human morality on an unprecedented scale. That's what we see with a lot of political movements. We see the commodification of human morality and what you should care about. And, oh, these wars overseas, you should stop what you're doing in your day, and you should invest emotionally in a conflict that's happening on the other side of the world. I'm just using that as an example. Now, folks, that might seem a little callous. The thing is, of course I care. Of course I care about what's happening in Russia, Ukraine. Of course I care about what's happening in Israel, Palestine. Friends, I've been to both Israel and Palestine. I care a ton about what's happening in the world. But here's the thing, folks, and this is where this is absolutely critical. We can't help anybody else until we can help ourselves. It's one of the great paradoxes with a lot of modern social movements. We're not equipped to help anybody if we can't take care of ourselves. I'm working on taking care of myself. I'm working on overcoming some incredible challenges and obstacles in my life. I'm working on my mental health, my emotional health. I'm working on my sobriety. So I won't be able to help anybody in the Ukraine. I won't be able to help anybody in Palestine. I won't be able to help anybody in the world until I can help myself, right? So that's where this radical indifference comes in, because the news and the media and your friends and certain social movements, they're telling you how to feel. They're saying, you know what, stop, take time out of your day, invest in these narratives, even though these narratives make people sick, even though investing in these narratives oftentimes comes at the expense of our personal growth, our stability, our peace of mind. So I argue that one of the most surefire paths today to reclaiming sovereignty, it's another concept I want to talk more about in my book and subsequent videos. If you want to reclaim sovereignty as an individual, you have to completely reject the narrative, and you have to cultivate a kind of radical indifference. Again, folks, it's not that I don't care. I care so much, but I'm very mindful of the fact I can't help anybody until I help myself. And so that's what I'm working on right now. I want to close it out with a short story. I talked to a dear friend the other day, a person I hadn't spoken to in months, and we were catching up, and I told them that I'm done with the news, that I've completely broken up the conservative news, the liberal news. I've just completely broken up with the dominant political narrative, and it's actually done wonders to my mental health. And you know what this person said to me? Dear friend of mine. I didn't take it personally. They said, you know, that's a real position of privilege to be able to reject the news, to, you know, that's real privilege. And you know, it's so funny why I want to close it out with that short story. The fact that that person said it's privilege when you reject the news just reminded me why it's so critical to reject the news. Privilege. You know, that word has been completely co-opted. That word is part of the propaganda. That privilege, oh, don't even get me started. It's privilege now to avoid the news. I suppose then under, you know, with the same logic, kicking drugs and alcohol, that's privilege, right? Working on your mental health, that's privilege, right? Being personally accountable, that's got to be a little privilege too. You see where I'm going with this, folks? So That's just the world we live in today. And to just bring it all together, I think that there is a ton of value in cultivating a kind of radical indifference. If you want to be sovereign, if you want to take ownership of your life, your goals, your career, your destiny, you have to completely reject the narrative, the noise, all of it. You got to cultivate radical indifference. And people in your life are going to say, "Oh, but that's privilege, and you shouldn't be cultivating radical indifference. You should be out here miserable with the rest of us." That's another reminder why it is absolutely paramount to cultivate a kind of radical indifference. Again, not because we don't care, because we care so much, we're going to be that much more judicious with regards to where we place our energy and where we place our focus. That's all I've got for now, folks. I really want to thank you if you've made it this far. Let me know your comments and the thoughts. Please like, please subscribe. We're building something special here together, folks. I want to thank you all again. I will see you all in the next one. Take care.